Alright, so you get a time machine and you can travel back to the year 2006, but you can only pick 5 Bionicle sets to bring back home with you to the present day. So which ones are we picking? Well, let's decide. In this video, let's talk about all the awesome Bionicle sets that came out in the year 2006, and we'll count down the top 5 best sets and 5 honorable mentions as well. So let's see what we'd buy if we had one more opportunity to get these sets. Let's go. So for Bionicle in 2006, we had the dreaded Brutaka, as well as some mighty Matoran, and some edgy and pretty awesome looking Toa in the Toa Nuparu. You also had a lot of other wonderful Titan sets and different things that fit into the Bionicle story in some really cool and unique ways. It was actually a very good year for Bionicle. But it was also a good year for LEGO in general in 2006. We got different things like the Avatar The Last Airbender sets. They were released in 2006, and these sets are very popular today and a little bit more pricey these days as well if you want to pick one up. We had LEGO Batman was introduced, the old classic one with some fantastic figures in that wave of sets. And then one of my all-time favorite themes ever, other than Bionicle, Exo-Force came out in 2006. It's a theme that I still wish would return to this day, and I know many other AFOLs share that opinion. Mindstorm's NXT was also released. We also got themes like SpongeBob SquarePants and the beloved LEGO Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, that came out as well in 2006. So lots to love. But what Bionicle sets did we love? Well, let's look at that number 5 spot now. This is the 5th set in my list of 5 that I'd pick out back in my time machine, and that first set is Nuparu. Now if you ask why, then I will say, sir, why not? He is the coolest out of all of the Toa Nuparu. I mean, just look at him. He's got spikes sticking out of his mask like he's in some kind of heavy metal band, and his hands are frickin' Wolverine claws. Kinda, sort of, they're more his fingers, they're not sticking out of his knuckles or whatever, but still, it's the idea and it looks cool. Plus, with his Zamasphere launcher, that piece isn't handheld like it is on some of the other Toa Nuparu. No, Nuparu is like, hey, I'm gonna mount mine onto my shoulder so I can be way cooler than everyone else on this team. Nuparu rocks. And as a kid, I just loved this set because of all of those different things. He stood out from all the other Toa in all the right ways. And I loved his little gun weapon too, the fact that it allowed you to attach a lightsaber blade on top so it looked like some kind of like sniper rifle scope thing. Awesome. I remember playing with Nuparu all the time. He'd be sniping down bad guys, then he'd jump down and slice them up with his claws. He was just like the ultimate Toa, the ultimate edgy Toa as well, let's be honest. And look, of course, the Nuparu were revolutionary for their time. Their prefab limbs and the Nuparu torso piece, they became staples on many future sets. Nuparu walked so that all the future Bionicle sets could run. But let's go to the number 4 spot now. Now we're hopping back in the time machine. What's the next set that we'll decide to pick up because we love it so much? Well, in the 4th favorite spot here, it's Zaktan. Zaktan. The snake. 100% cunning, 0% cuddly. That's kind of sad, actually. Does no one hug him? I mean, maybe he just doesn't like hugs, I suppose, but like, let's give some love for Zaktan. Surely Thok will be like, hey, I'll give you a hug, man, and he'll be alright with that. Anyway, Zaktan's great. I've always loved his weapon. A lot of the Brutaka weapons had the thing where you could kind of like flip them. So, on Zaktan, one side had those 3 claws, which I thought always looked really cool, especially in gold. But then you rotate it, and then it's this like pincer of sorts. And as a kid, I thought that simple flipping weapon play feature, I thought it was awesome. Zaktan was the first Bionicle that I actually bought in 2006, and the flippy weapon thing, it was the coolest thing for little Ben. Combine that with the Zamasphere launcher, which was also really cool. I still to this day think that is the best shooting mechanic that any of the Bionicle sets had. It's so elegant, it's easy to fire, and it shoots at just the right amount of speed that the balls just don't go like flying everywhere and get lost, which I think some of them had a tendency to do a little bit more than others. So Zamasphere launchers are a win. The Brutaka also had the light up eyes using the light brick on their heads, plus their teeth glue in the dark. Now again, all these features I adored as a kid. Whoever was, working on Bionicle that year, they knew exactly what me as a kid wanted, and they delivered it to me in toy form with all of the Bionicle sets this year. So yeah, a lot of happy memories playing with Zaktan all day after buying him, running him around the furniture and the carpet, pretending it's like canyons and mountains and stuff. Yeah, good fun. Oh, and let's not forget the fact that he's got a bunch of sand green pieces on him. Love sand green, such a good color. Well, let's head over to the number 3 spot now. We've danced around a bit with some of these smaller sets, but let's talk about some of the big guns now. The number 3 spot goes to Vezon and Fenrakk. Mate, what a cool concept. A Brutaka-looking dude with a silver mask riding on the back of a giant spider. What's not to love? I mean, sure, in the Bionicle story, Vezon is cursed and fused to a mutant Fenrakk spider. Both in story and out of story, it's a really solid idea. And I've always loved 2-packs. Now, while this isn't something like the Hero Factory set, Bulk and Vapor, where you get the characters who can face off with one another, you still get 2 characters in the one set, and I can always appreciate that. It gives you a lot more to actually play with in the one thing that you're buying. And that excited me a lot as a kid, and I used to stare at this a lot on the shelves and think, I really wanted that, but I never got it. My childhood best friend at the time had it, and I coveted it, and I wished I had it, but it was never something that I obtained. However, many years later, when my childhood friend was no longer into LEGO, I ended up buying his whole collection, so I got that specific Fenrakk and Vezon that I loved so much. So it all came up Millhouse in the end. So yeah, I love this set because, I wanted it for years, and now it sits proudly amongst my collection, so it's got a special place because of that. But also it looks cool. Fenrakk's this imposing and very well-designed character with a cool-looking jaw design, the spider legs are nice, and Vezon always looks awesome. And I've always been a big fan of that cape piece as well. It's very helpful for making mocks, but it's also an incredibly expensive piece online, even though it's just a random piece of cloth. So a really solid toy, and a lot of nice memories that go with this for me. Now the number 2 spot goes to a bit of a favorite of mine, and probably a favorite of yours. It's Brutaka. Now look, you can kid all you want, but gold is one of the coolest colors, and Brutaka makes it look oh so good. And there's just so much to love about Brutaka. What an awesome character within the Bionicle story, and he's got one of the coolest looking blade pieces of any set, and one of the best masks too. It's a bit of a chunky mask, and I've always appreciated the curvature of it. The way it ends neatly with 2 little sort of spikes at the end there, the unique kind of circular texture around the base of it, and the crisp lines around the eyes. It's magnificent. And go look up the powers for that mask on the Bionicle Wiki. It has some of the coolest powers of any Bionicle mask as well. Now look, there's a lot of other great qualities to this set, like the fact that the back armor just kind of pops out and becomes these additional weapons like you can see in this image here. Very nice play feature. And at the time this set came out, I remember being blown away by the hand design. It's using these, at the time, they were newer Paraka claw pieces that debuted in 2006, and they were previously used as, a foot piece on Jeez, I can say that word, on a Paraka like this set. But then seeing them used as a hand design here, so impressive. It's a way more common technique these days, and it has appeared in a few other sets as well, but it doesn't mean it isn't cool. But yeah, man, I remember staring at Brutaka in LEGO magazines and on the toy shelves back in the day, and just hoping I could one day own this set, because it was just so cool. And it's still cool today, man. Once again, Bionicle managed to create one of the coolest looking characters out there. Now, I ended up actually purchasing this a few years later, I believe in 2008. It was at a LEGO convention in Chicago when I was there at the time, and I think I got it for like $40 or something, which was a pretty decent deal, especially for what this is worth today. So yeah, man, Brutaka brought me a lot of joy, just such an incredibly awesome set. Now, before we get to that number 1 spot, let's quickly talk about 5 honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list, but they're still worth talking about. I guess these sets are, the ones I try to put on the time machine, but I've got too much in my hands and they maybe fall through the cracks, or I try and put them on, but there's not enough room. Whatever. Still, let's talk about these cool sets. The number 5 spot in the honorable mentions, well, it goes to a couple sets. We've got Fenrakk, which was a unique set. It was a combo model of Vezon, Redak, and Thok as well, but they did actually sell this as a combo model set, Fenrakk, which was cool, but this isn't the honorable mention spot here. It goes to a similar set, because turns out you could buy this set, exactly the same, but it didn't include the rare gold Paraka spine piece, which was unique to Fenrakk. Instead, you can buy the set that's exactly the same, and it just uses Vezon's mask. I never knew this existed, and it's very hard to find high-quality images of it online. I mean, sure, there's no reason you couldn't buy those 3 original sets and just build this yourself and use the masks that came in the sets to do it, but it's the fact that this existed as a boxed set. Who knew? Plus, there's very little info available on this anywhere. I don't know how this existed, where it was sold. I mean, the set number is 66157, and it's called a bonus value pack. At least that's what it's called on Brickset anyway. Other sites refer to this as Bionicle Korea Value Pack. So I guess this was only available or sold in Korea? I don't know. But what also makes this strange, there is another. There's a combo model that features the other 3 Paraka sets that weren't seen in Fenrakk or in 66157 bonus value pack or Korea value pack. And it uses the other colors, and again, doesn't come with an exclusive spine piece. Yeah, so if I did have a time machine, I'd love to look around at the time and try to learn a little bit more about this. It's so weird, it's so cool, and honestly, I didn't really know this existed for the longest time. If only there were better images of this too. The next honorable mention is 7126 Gold Good Guy, which is basically just Turaga Lakan but in set form. Now this set is nothing special, let's be honest, it doesn't really look all that impressive, but the story behind this is really cool. So you get a free Bionicle when you purchase some batteries. What? That's so strange. What a weird, promotional partnership there. And it's not even like this set needed batteries to, power something. They just put the two together for whatever reason. Now, the Bionicle Wiki sheds a little bit of light on this. It states the following. This set had originally been designed in 2003 and was intended to release as part of a promotion in the US. After the event was cancelled, the idea of this set was repurposed and instead saw release in Europe. So there you go. Why batteries though? Anyway, so in 2006, I remember seeing images of this set online and I was captivated. I wanted this set so badly, and every time my family went to Target, I'd check the aisle that had batteries in the hopes that I would see it there. I eventually gave up because I never found it. I guess I needed to be in Europe for that to happen and I had no idea. But still, it was the thrill of the hunt, and that was what was so exciting. It brought me a lot of joy hoping I'd see it there. And I remember kind of thinking, I was like, well, it's more likely my parents will buy me this Bionicle set, because maybe we need some batteries too. And it's like, why buy the boring batteries when we can buy the batteries with a Bionicle? Maybe it's the alliteration that made them do it. Batteries, Bionicle, bonanza. Anyway, a lot of good memories with this set, so for me it's extra special. Let's not also forget there's a plethora of other weird promotional polybags from this year that do exist. I'll show you a few images of those now. These are all real, they're very weird, and a lot of these I've never seen before. I don't know if you've seen any of these watching this video here. They're strange, but cool. The third honorable mention goes to Umbra. So, wow. Umbra is a speedy boy, and he has wheels on the bottom of his feet. I remember spending ages playing with Umbra and zooming him around the place with those wheel feet. The best. I mean, the rest of the set's great too. He's got the light up Anika swords for weapons, 2 of them. He's got that Fenrakk spinner on the staff. Great to see an older piece come back there. This dude was kitted out. I loved him. But dude, wheel feet. The best. The number 2 honorable mention spot goes to Huki Anika. Now, he was the first Anika set that I bought, and I love this little boy. He's not that little anymore, he's not a Matoran anymore, he's a Toa Anika. Yellow at the time was my favorite color as a kid, so the fact that this was the first yellow Toa, that made me ecstatic. Now, this was actually the first ever LEGO set that I bought at a LEGO branded retail store. The first time I walked into the first LEGO store I went to, which was at the Woodfield Mall in Chicago. I remember walking in and seeing all the Toa Anika on display and drooling over how cool they looked. And I remember seeing all of them pose together and fighting each other in a little display that the employees just kind of set up. And Huki was using his chain piece that's attached to his axe weapon and was using it to choke out one of the other Toa. Now, as a kid, I thought that was awesome, but as an adult, I'm amazed that the LEGO employees were allowed to showcase the fighting in such a brutal way like that. But it was 2006, it was a different time. But yeah, hey, seeing him use that weapon in creative ways, I remember once I bought the set, I went straight home and did the same thing, because it was cool. So it certainly helped me buy that set. So I guess the employees did something right. The final honorable mention now goes to the great Axon. If I'm going to talk about Brutaka and my number 2 spot before, I can't really leave out Axon. The two are always a bit of a pair. Now Axon, lot to love. Big axe and even bigger hands. These hands may not be the most accurate, proportion-wise, but I remember this design blew my mind as a kid. Posable fingers like that, great. And the fact that they used the leg pieces from those 2006 Matoran for fingers, also great. Pure genius. Axon's mask also looks great. It was just an awesome character design. Plus too, if you had Brutaka and you had Axon, you could take them apart and build the combo model of Botar, which was a great set. I never actually built it myself, but in hindsight I can look back on it and appreciate just how cool it was. Okay, so it's time for the number 1 spot. So what set am I going to go back in time and it'll be the first one that I grab? This is the number 1 priority. Well, it's this set, the Kardas Dragon. Now, I've expressed my love for this set a few times on this channel, and it might be my all-time favorite Bionicle set. The set itself boasts the fact that it is one of the largest Bionicle figures ever. You can see it right on the box. Although, I love how they word it. They're like, oh wow, Kardas Dragon, so big, so cool, and I guess Vezon's there too, whatever, who cares about him. LEGO, come on, give Vezon some love. Anyway, I know I've told this story before, but I'll repeat it here now. I remember seeing this in Target for the very first time. I had no idea this set existed, and I freaked out, and I read the little sticker that said, largest Bionicle set ever, and I was so impressed because it was a dragon. I loved dragons as a kid. Everything about it was cool, but I was worried because it was a little too expensive, and so I was like, this is probably going to be like a few other sets that I love, but we can't afford them right now, sort of thing. So I remember rushing over to my parents, and I was like, oh, it's the biggest ever, and it's a dragon, and it's so cool, come on, please. And then my dad was like, yeah, sure, we can buy it. And I was like, whoa, oh, okay, cool. You know, I didn't expect that to happen. And so quickly, I thought I'd have to go in multiple times and be like, can we buy it today? Can we buy it today? But it happened instantly. And then I immediately went home and built it. And I was so happy. I remember after I'd built it, I remember just staring at it for ages because I was just so in awe of how cool it was. And, I played with it a bunch too. It was such a great set. Had a lot of fun memories with it. But let's ignore my memories, although they're important to me. But, it's still a good set despite my personal attachment to it. It holds up as an incredible set even today. So this was a combo model. It uses pieces from Brutaka, as well as Axon, and Vezon and Fenrakk, sets we've all spoken about so far. So it's fun to see how it uses pieces from all those different sets in very clever ways. Look how they've used Brutaka's weapons and Fenrakk's claws for the wings. Fenrakk's head works perfectly for a dragon head. And then we've also got Axon's axe pieces being used to make Vezon's new shield. So much fun. And one other thing that makes this set special for me, here's a very old mock that I made when I was like in high school or something, so a long time ago. I combined Hydraxon, Maxilos, the Kardas dragon, and a few other random pieces and different things to build a large version of Makuta Pterodax. So a bit of an old one here, but a lot of Kardas dragon's pieces went into that, so yeah, it makes the set extra special. Well, that's it. Top 5 sets and 5 honorable mentions for my favorite sets of 2006. And here's a little picture here of all the overview of all of my choices. Do you agree with them? Would you pick the same sets if you were using your time machine to go back in time? The time machine you totally obviously have. Or do you have other cool childhood memories of playing with your Bionicle toys? It was fun to share mine. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. Now, if you enjoyed this slightly more experimental, a little bit of a different vibe kind of video going on, be sure to let me know, because I'm more than happy to continue this exact same concept, but repeat it with other years of Bionicle sets in the future, so let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. Happy building. Bye for now. And don't think I'm going to forget about Good Guy, the prodigal son, the chosen one, the greatest set of all time. He existed in this year. He's great. I love Good Guy.